eyes are as soft. Your hair is pleasant to my touch.
Does seeing this make you feel weird or uncomfortable? This is a clip from the 1944 movie Dragon Seeds, in which a cast of non-Asians are cast to play farmers on a prosperous farm in China during the 1930s during the Second Japanese Sino War, which separates the Tain family. Historically, we've seen this sort of situation occur a lot, all the way from the 40s to the 90s, and even recently, in embarrassing fashion, the movie Aloha, in which Emma Stone was cast to play a Hawaiian native. Why is this girl pretending to be one of them? I mean, sometimes you see that kind of situation play out, it's like, what? They just feel so out of place. It's like, why? Like, what is this? And later, it actually came out to be discovered when the director came out to address the criticism of Emma Stone's casting, that as far back as 2007, Captain Allison Ing was written to be a super proud one-quarter Hawaiian who was frustrated that, by all outward appearances, she looked nothing like one. A half-Chinese father was meant to show the surprising mix of cultures often prevalent in Hawaii. Extremely proud of her unlikely heritage, she feels personally compelled to over-explain every chance she gets. The character was based on a local redhead who did just that. Either way, whatever the case, it was still an extremely awkward situation, and perhaps their casting could have been better done, because yellowface or whitewashing of characters, especially Asians, proves to be offensive to some and many, and increasingly an issue to this day, especially when it detracts from the story in such a way that it kind of ruins the movie, especially when people familiar with the work, especially the original work, see the live adaptation and they think, like, what the heck? That was just so awful. And I don't have to mention M. Night Shyamalan's Avatar: The Last Airbender, because that movie was just so embarrassing, I didn't even watch it. We also can't forget the Ghost in the Shell remake where they cast Scarlett Johansson as Motoko. Like I said, that casting choice wasn't nearly as awkward, but still it kind of differed from the source material in a way that was noticeable. Just watch it yourself. A much more recent example would be Netflix's adaptation of the Death Note anime and manga, in which they cast Nate Wolff, or however you say it, as Light Turner to represent Light Yagami from the obvious source material. And well, it was kind of awkward because Seattle had a population of 14% Asians, so it actually wouldn't be a very weird scenario to cast an Asian in the role of any of those characters. Interestingly, the Japanese themselves actually had a different take on this issue, actually responding in a rather laid-back manner. And the consensus regarding the whitewashing was actually mostly nonchalant. They believed that, seeing as how it was a Hollywood film, they could cast foreigners as they liked. Also to note is that they did find issue with L being cast as a black guy. They thought that it just didn't fit L's character. Kind of weird. But if you know something about Japan, then you're obviously aware that they actually have their own beliefs, biases, and ideas on race themselves. And as for the issue of casting Asians into the roles of the characters, Japanese people would dislike that, as they would not like other people who are not Japanese to be portrayed as such. Now, many people clearly got angry over these choices, especially people who were familiar to the original source material. I would guess that many people who didn't even know what Ghost in the Shell was, or even what Death Note was, really wouldn't matter that much to them. Many people found issue with the whitewashing in Ghost in the Shell and the Death Note adaptation, especially due to how it differs from the source material, and many people actually did find issue with the fact that the characters were essentially whitewashed. The issue probably stems from the fact that when people get attached to characters, a setting, or a plot, that when they see this sort of thing happen, they get kind of upset. I don't have to even mention this, but the Dragon Ball Z live action movie, that was just so awful. In the film Avatar: The Last Airbender, it was so awful and so painful to see them cast these characters in the light that they did. And you can't necessarily make it about race either. It was just so obviously different from the story. Whitewashing itself is an incredibly complicated issue that is actually a lot more harder to solve than people may actually believe at first sight. In the end, it's all about money and how films and studios receive their funding. Also about you, the consumer, as well. Whitewashing in films isn't necessarily just about white people being cast into roles that weren't traditionally meant for them. It's also about how other races are cast into stereotypical roles. Like a Mexican would be cast into what has been viewed as a traditional, stereotypical position, or even an African American person, or say any other race, like an Asian. And perhaps the solution to this is to focus more so on the story than to say an actor's market appeal or their attractiveness or the popularity of said actor. After all, there's so many great actors out there. Why can't we just, consider that? If your belief is that we should add more diversity for the sake of it, I think that's actually kind of flawed, because you create a system that's obviously exploitable, and people can see right through that. And again, you have to refer back to the original issue, where it detracts from the story, people can't necessarily relate to the character, and so forth and so on. The other problem is that in the majority of cases, I think that people make this probably a bigger issue than what it is. Sometimes I definitely can see where the issue stands. But again, diversity for the sake of diversity is not the solution. Recently, the movie Black Panther came out, and it was widely lauded by critics, and there were many a person saying that if you don't watch it or if you don't like the movie, you're racist. That makes no sense. I myself have not actually seen the movie Black Panther, so I can't actually necessarily rate it or actually give an opinion on the movie. But I have also read that some people's opinions are stating that the popularity of the movie is mainly based on a movement, not necessarily how great the story is. There's some reviewers who I've seen have criticized the movie due to simply because they feel that they shouldn't be held to that standard of opinion, that if you didn't enjoy the movie, it makes you a bad person. If you don't like a movie, you don't like a movie. You can't necessarily tell someone that merely because of the race of the characters in the movie, they dislike it, it means they're a racist. But to me, that's the kind of wrong idea, that's the wrong stance that you want to take if you're trying to actually be all-inclusive. That's just my opinion. Someone's racist merely because they didn't like a movie, I think that you might be a part of the problem. If the story is bad and someone genuinely believes that, or genuinely believes that, then you should respect that opinion. What do you actually think about this? Do you think that if someone doesn't like, say, Black Panther, it means they're racist? Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and perhaps share it with your friends, get a conversation going, and maybe this video has caused you to think about something, or maybe it just made you angry. And if that's the case, oh well. My point isn't to actually upset anybody. And if you actually have an opinion you'd like to add, or something else, maybe a viewpoint, go ahead and leave it below. I'm actually kind of curious as to what the viewer believes. Till next time, I'm at the bridge. Thanks for watching.